morning to you. It's 8:46 at iFiber One News Radio. We take this time Thursdays to focus on Shelton, and it's brought to you by our community credit union. I've got two great guests in studio this morning to talk about the city and some of the financials when it comes to the city. I've got Nola Neudegg, the Shelton Finance Director, and the City Manager, Ryan Wheaton. Good morning to you both.
Morning, Jeff.
Good morning.
Thanks for coming on and talking with me about some upcoming changes to the way the city does some financial things. But let's go back a couple months from now, a couple months ago, I should say, rather. And Ryan, we'll start with you and talk to me a little bit about how the city was doing and how it's doing now, a couple months now as we kind of catch up.
I think it's fair to say that things were a bit of a mess. When I came on board, there was no city manager, there was no finance director for the last few months, and I brought somebody on that we were hoping could get things straightened out, and really quickly we realized that that was not a good fit. Mm-hmm. And we brought Nola on, talked in November. Nola started with us in December, and since then has made some significant changes. And the biggest problems that I saw when I came on board were a lack of transparency, not just with people in the public, but also transparency internally. So we've heard a number of times, us both being new, we've heard from department directors that they didn't know where they stood with their budget day to day, month to month, and that's a significant problem for any organization, especially for one that's as close to the line as we are. So Nola, I think she asked me for three things when she came on board that we really needed to do, and we talked about figuring out where we were with the debt, getting our financial system, which had been installed a year ago, but the installation didn't go well, and we were still relying on a system that was purchased probably when I was in grade school.
Oh, wow.
And then the final thing was that I really needed somebody to come on board as finance director and turn the finance department into a team. And Nola has done a phenomenal job of that since she came on board a few months ago.
So were all the folks in the different departments, I mean, you guys are all pretty close with each other at the Civic Center, but there just wasn't a good flow of communication, it seemed like?
Sometimes proximity and communication don't correlate very well. And I think that we've worked very hard over the last few months to make sure that that's changed. And if anything now, there are times when we probably over-communicate because we talk quite a bit at the Civic Center.
Good. Well, Nola, let's talk about some of these upcoming changes. A big change for all city employees starting in May. Let's start with the initiation of direct deposit and what that does not only for the workers but for the city.
Well, direct deposit is basically employees don't get paper checks anymore. Everything gets deposited automatically into their into their bank accounts on payday. And this really is an effort to streamline our payroll processing system, and we really want to save our employees time and money because it costs them time and money to go drive to the bank and wait in line to cash a check or deposit a check. So it's going to streamline our payroll processing, it's going to save our employees time and money, and it really improves security and accountability in our financial tracking system.
It seems like, too, along with that is the monitoring system that's going to be as well, this free service that is offered through the banks that you guys use, this electronic check monitoring system. How's that going to work?
That's basically, it's something that's already available to us from the bank, and it's available in our financial software, and it's simply a matter of getting it set up. What it does is we send an electronic file to the bank, and that provides our bank with all of the relevant information about all of the physical checks that we write to anyone.
Okay.
So it really prevents check fraud, prevents people from altering checks, depositing checks twice, doing anything they shouldn't be doing with checks. And any check that would hit the bank that doesn't match the information we've transmitted to the bank ahead of time would get put into a holding pen, we'd get notified, and then we can view it to see if it should in fact go through or not.
Interesting.
So it's a very good security measure, and it really will go a long ways toward protecting the bank's funds, or the city's funds, at the bank.
One of the other things that you guys have been working on is just organizing and understanding the city's debt. It looks like it has been kind of finally organized into a big portfolio, and this is helpful how?
Well, it helps us understand who we owe money to, how much we owe, what it's for, what the interest rates are, what the payments are, when it's going to get paid off, and also any requirements or legal restrictions we may have to be aware of as long as that debt is in place. And we need all of that information so that we can make good financial decisions when we're budgeting, when we're planning for staffing in order to provide the best service we can to our citizens. So this is a critical piece of that picture to really be able to provide transparency, accountability, and to really maximize the service we can provide with the resources we have.
Will this be available for the public, or are these internal documents?
It's absolutely available to the public.
The other thing that we are starting to kind of hear more and more about at different governmental entities is kind of changes in the way people are accounting. And for a long time, the city has been using the GAAP system, the generally accepted accounting principle system, and has now been authorized by the commission to move to a cash basis conversion. I'm no money person here, so in the basic layman's terms, how is this going to help the city understand its finances better and then pass that along to its citizens?
It's a very good question. What this does is, first of all, it saves a lot of staff time in preparation of our annual report. Every year, every governmental entity in Washington state prepares and submits to the state auditor an annual financial report. Under the GAAP system, it would take over 1,000 hours of staff time to put that report together.
Wow.
And the report usually isn't finalized until around the end of May. By the time the information is available to the people who need to make decisions based on that information, it's stale. A cash basis system is simpler. It's easier to understand for people who maybe aren't finance professionals. It's more transparent, and it is a huge savings in staff time. So it's going to be a direct cost savings as well.
Some of the things I saw here, you mentioned 1,000 hours down to maybe 200 hours. That's a significant
potentially
drop.
Less than 200 hours.
And
Wow.
what we want is information that's not only available to the public, but we want information that makes sense to people in the public. Right now, the debt information that Nola talked about is available on the website. Our previous revenue and expenditure information is there from earlier years. We want to make an annual report that isn't interesting only to accounting professionals. We want to make sure that people in the community can access the 2016, next year the 2017 annual report, and have what we've done with their money make sense.
Will this also help in upcoming budget conversations if you know? So
Yes,
this is pretty much an immediate changes to the
Yes.
budget.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So folks will say, hey, this is where we're at. This is where we were.
Absolutely.
So try to, again, explain how, if someone doing their kitchen table finances, how this would look for them. They get a check in the mail, they post it in the bank, and you see the funds automatically versus the GAAP way, or?
Well, the difference between a GAAP basis of accounting and reporting and a cash basis is when you utilize a GAAP basis system, it means you report revenue at the time you send out invoices.
Okay.
And you report expenditure at the time you receive an invoice. On a cash basis system, think of it more like you would your personal checkbook. On a cash basis system, you report financial transactions at the time the cash moves. So when you receive revenue is when you report it.
Okay.
When you write the checks to pay your bills, that's when you report that.
Okay.
And it is just a simpler, easier, cleaner system. I think one of the keys to mention here when we're talking about the difference between GAAP and cash is that because of the size of the city of Shelton, most cities of our size are on a cash basis. And we did consult with the state auditor's office and several other, some of my colleagues at other cities. We've checked with some consultants about this, and consistently what we heard from everybody we talked to was you should be on a cash basis. For the size of your city, that makes sense. If we were the size of Seattle, we would definitely be on a GAAP basis.
Okay.
But we got 2 thumbs up from the state auditor's office and several other places about converting to cash. So it's just simpler and cleaner and makes more sense for us.
So this is going to be starting now? I mean, with the commission's authorization?
The
or?
commission adopted an ordinance ordinance that makes this conversion retroactive to the beginning of 2016.
Oh, okay.
So as I'm preparing the 2016 annual report, which will be due the end of May, I'm going to be, first I'll complete the conversion, and then I'll be preparing the annual report for last year on a cash basis.
And folks will be able to check those out too as well,
Absolutely.
and engage with the city at various meetings and
Yes.
things like that. City Manager Ryan Wheaton here today, also Nola Van Neudegg, the Shelton Finance Director, as we focus on Shelton this week and every week by our community credit union. Thanks for coming in and explaining this a little bit. I was able to understand it, so that's a good thing.
It's a good start.
Good
Thank
start
you.
for sure. Thanks, Nola. Thanks, Ryan.